Hello, sports fan. This is Stephen here with Sports Choice Plus. I'm bringing you a very special breakdown. I'm going to be covering who was better, Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett. Before I get right into that, I'm going to make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel so you can get all the updates and all the breakdowns. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Looking at this argument, KG was on a podcast and he was being very honest and being very vulnerable about his thoughts about, sometimes being thrown into comparisons with Tim Duncan. He talked about essentially the better coaching that he had. Tim Duncan had during his career. He talked about the better team that he had. And also he talked about individually. Basically, he's put it out there. Hey, you had the better team than me. You had Manu Ginobili. You had Tony Parker. You had David Robinson, Sean Elliott, Bruce Bowen. You had all these different players that were great players. I didn't have that until I got to Boston. He talked about essentially look at their careers individually and not as a team. Look at what he did in the scoring aspect, the defensive aspect, the win share aspect, and what he was able to do to bring Minnesota back that 1 year where they're essentially on top of the NBA. And he also talked about, look, going to Boston and what it was like when he played with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo and comparing that kind of energy to what Tim Duncan had normally. And when you think about everything that Kevin Garnett did, I'm going to be honest with you. Just listening to the things he said and going head to head and them both making all-star games, them both making all-star teams, they were two different types of players. Tim Duncan was a back-to-the-basket kind of guy, fundamentally sound, didn't really make a lot of noise, didn't really say a lot of things, but he let his game play. Even though he had a great mentor with Greg Popovich and great coach, a lot of times the players around him made him better. A lot of times it wasn't just Tim Duncan. It was the key focus in the fourth quarter with Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker when they needed big buckets or big assists. It was a lot of different players and not just the key name players. You look at the guys that were coming off the bench for San Antonio, the glue guys, like essentially Sean Elliott, like essentially Patty Mills. I mean, you got a lot of guys that were great coming off the bench to help the Spurs organization out throughout the years, and they were always hitting on draft picks of guys that we didn't know by name, and they were coming in producing for the Spurs. So I agree with when he says the team aspect, I agree with KG, but from the standpoint, Kevin Garnett was getting busy. When you think about the individual matchups that he had to face on a nightly basis and still play defense and still play offense, Kevin Garnett was a dog, getting after it on both sides of the ball. So I do agree with him for the most part. It was a little less work than Tim Duncan had to do overall as far as a team. But if I had my choice and I could get the pick, give me KG. KG was offensive juggernaut. Defensively, he helped well, blocked shots, got out there and put the pressure on people. But when it comes down to it, KG didn't have the team to load up against Tim Duncan on a nightly basis. He didn't have the opportunity to have the kind of outlets that he had. So, and again, it could be Garnett's fault he didn't leave Minnesota early enough. But you saw when he was with the Celtics, his impact on the team with other great players. So what do you guys feel? Do you feel like Tim Duncan was better? Garnett was better? Let me know in the comment section. I'm picking Tim Duncan to be the lesser of the two. I think KG was better than him individually, but Tim Duncan just had the better success. So get in the comment section below. It's no wrong answer. They're both all NBA players, Hall of Fame, top 20 players. So definitely check out Sports Choice Plus, and we'll see you on the very next episode.